Yo, 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 people and patrons of the night, it is your boy, the Horrorlander, and today I'm going to be talking about a new creature feature horror book that I had the pleasure to read. Not new as in the date, I didn't remember when it was published, but it was a new one that I picked up and I decided, I might as well check it out because this is a creature feature horror book which is written by a heavy hitter in that subgenre. It is an author who you will see a lot of his books and a lot of Goodreads list, other people's TBRs. He just writes a lot of like B movie monster kind of books and some fun, interesting looking concepts, and that is Michael Cole. So Michael Cole is one of the heavy hitters in the creature feature horror community. He's a more modern author and he writes a lot of stuff till this day. So the book that I'm going to be talking about is a novella called Creature of Lake Shadow. And I read the premise and I thought, you know what, sounds pretty interesting. Let's see what this guy has got. And it's not too long, so I can probably fly through it. And this one was a speedy read, but it was a fun read. It was a good read. And there's a lot of good stuff that I like in here, such as a fun monster, some humor mixed in with the horror, an interesting group of characters, lots and lots of crazy badass horror action, especially towards the climax, and just overall a tight-knit, very thrilling and fun story. So without further ado, let's get into the review of Creature of Lake Shadow. I'll talk a little bit about the plot, and then my positives, and then some brief negatives. So let's go. So Creature of Lake Shadow basically opens up with a group of gasoline propane delivery truckers who are delivering fuel over to some isolate remote cabins out in the woods. It's the winter time. There's lots of snow and blizzards that are coming in, basically making the roads nearly undrivable. And of course, they're in the remote wilderness. So the new hire trucker guy who's leading the truck is kind of having a hard time. He's cussing out. He's feeling frustrated that they have to go out here in the middle of nowhere to deliver fuel and supplies. But the more experienced guy who's with them tells him that it's important because obviously these guys don't have a lot of supplies that come in to these remote locations often. So once they get, fuel and food and other things, it's a while before they get their next resupply. But he does tell them that the place that they're going to, which you find out to be Lake Shadow, has an urban legend to it, which is that people are pretty wary. They think of it as taboo, and not a lot of people like to go up there because word on the, I guess not street, but word in the woods was that there was a meteorite that had crashed down nearby the lake, and there might have been something riding aboard that meteor, a life form that ended up coming off, roaming the woods, and a lot of the missing person cases, people going up there and not coming back, some of the fear mongering that happens amongst Lake Shadow is probably responsible due to that entity and this urban legend. But of course, it's just a local story and it sounds really out there. So, of course, the main guy who's driving doesn't believe it, and the other guy is just kind of keeping it there as like a nice little spooky story. But when they do get to the cabin of who they're supposed to deliver this fuel for, they see that the cabin is kind of broken up. There's some strange footprints and other signs that maybe something extra has happened at the cabin. Maybe there was some type of tussle or fight or some strange animal that's been walking around, maybe a person. And then eventually things get quite bloody and quite sinister as they find out that with the cold open, there might actually be something roaming the woods, and maybe that urban legend has some truth behind it. But then you cut over to the next group of characters that you'll be following, the ones throughout the rest of the story, and that is that there is a bank heist which is going on in this local suburb town. You have these crew of bank robbers who you got the lead guy who's a hothead, you got another guy who's more level-headed, you got a more comedic relief, drunkard, more goofy guy, and then you got this beautiful woman who you can tell she is the girlfriend of the hot-headed leader, but it seems like she doesn't really want to be involved in this type of crime world, and maybe she's kind of getting pressured into it. But nonetheless, they pull off this bank heist, but not without some problems. There is some accidental homicides, some murders that happen as they're trying to defend themselves and run away. And due to the hothead's lack of rationality, he ends up triggering an alarm. The cops come in. They have a close call as they try to get to their getaway driver and speed out of there. But they are successful. They switch cars and go get their getaway driver, who plans on taking them to a remote cabin out in the woods where they can lay low, try to avoid the heat, avoid the police, and then after some time they can go back to living their lives with all the money that they got. and you find out that the remote cabin that he owns, that he's taking him to during this wintry time in the forest, is in fact the place by Lake Shadow. It's one of the surrounding cabins around that urban legend taboo area. So little do the characters know that they're going to be walking into some shit. And maybe they're not going to be so isolated up there. Maybe there might be something up there that takes a particular interest to them. And that's on top of there being police officers and detectives who are hunting them. You end up getting some local police officers who track them down due to some evidence and phone calls that they run into by a gas station they stop at. And next thing you know, police are going after them. Police are expecting that they're going to run into these bank robbers, and the bank robbers are thinking that they're going to avoid any type of heat or conflict. And it's all basically leading to a giant wild goose chase in which both of these human sides don't know about the supernatural, occult, extraworldly creature that is roaming the woods. And maybe some problems end up, some murder, some carnage, and the police start blaming them on the bank heist, and they don't know any better on those robbers. The robbers suspect that maybe they're turning on each other. Maybe some of the members in their group are starting to lose their cool because there is emotional tension while they're inside of this cabin. The girlfriend might take a liking to the getaway driver, and she wants to get away from her abusive boyfriend who's the leader of the gang. The leader of the gang has problems with that. He's a power hog. He's very stubborn. The drunkard guy swears that he saw something out in the woods that's made him very paranoid, and he's off his rocker most of the time. And the level-headed guy doesn't really know who he wants to side with. So all this internal conflict is going on, and at the same time, you got this monster situation and police situation. So that's effectively the story. This is a short read, pretty fast, pretty quick. You can kind of speed through it, but it is a thrilling story, and it is fun. I like the idea of this urban legend behind this lake, and it's very kind of schlocky, involving, you know, a meteor landing, and maybe there's some extraterrestrial threat that boarded and, you know, is responsible for some problems in the area. The fact that these bank heist robbers, you know, are going through their whole getaway thing, and then you find out that the place they're going to coincidentally will end up being the same area that's teased from the opening. There's humor mixed in there between the bank robbers doing jokes at each other, but the police officers have some humorous moments. So in a way, this book kind of feels like a Tales from the Crypt Presents movie. If you guys have seen stuff like Demon Knight, Bordello of Blood, From Dusk Till Dawn was actually supposed to be, I think, the second Tales from the Crypt Presents movie, but then it ended up getting taken to Quentin Tarantino and became its own big hit thing. And you have Ritual, which got Tales from the Crypt Presents stamped on it later. This feels like, maybe with some extra tweaks or maybe some stuff added to it, this very much structurally feels like something that could end up in a Tales from the Crypt Presents movie, with that type of comic book feel, schlocky feel, the carnage, the blood, the humor, the thrilling, human drama mixed in with the extraterrestrial threats. Because a lot of the time when you watch those Tales from the Crypt Presents movies, it's always internal human drama that's going on, and at the same time there's an otherworldly threat or something that's flooding in. All the movies, if you count the 3 Tales from the Crypt Presents movies, as well as From Dusk Till Dawn as like an honorary one, they all go through that same stuff. And the comedy mixed with the humor is a nice touch. The monster in this book is fantastic. I mean, it is quite scary, quite thrilling. Michael Cole, the way he writes about it, makes it almost like a Jaws thing. It's in the shadows, it's lurking, it's building up tension, building up that sense of dread, fear, because you don't really know what it is. And when you get to the climax and stuff starts to happen and there's fights breaking out and this creature is very much getting active, it is some of the best horror action that I've ever read. You know, it's on par with guys like Tim Curran, but I think Michael Cole's horror action that he does in this climax of the book is just non-stop, awesome, intense. I mean, it is cinematic. This is very much a cinematic feeling book, and it's just very thrilling, very fun. If you're looking for blood, gore, and carnage, it's all there. If you're looking for an awesome creature to be featured in here, it's there. I mean, they're dealing with something that's got, you know, acidic spit and a Wolverine type of regenerative healing factor. I mean, this is quite the problem. And factor in that they're also trying to escape the cops. They're also dealing with each other, threatening to kill each other and stuff like that. So quite the intense book. And yeah, I suggest you guys go pick it up. If you like Creature Feature, I think that you will enjoy this for all the positives I brought up. The one negative that I will give this book is that I'm not really a fan of the ending. It is a dark ending. It is a dreary ending, which I'm used to. I mean, I'm used to dark endings in adult horror and stuff like that. But I feel like with the way that the story was building up and the fact that these characters were very much getting fleshed out, it almost, there was a couple characters that were like not, they were more morally gray. They weren't like bad necessarily. They had some like redeeming qualities to them and some idea of potential redemption coming to them. So I would have liked some sort of redeeming conclusion and ending where maybe there's some payoff, maybe there's some characters who get out, successful, and things go, more so in like a, I don't know, like a happy manner, I guess you can say. This is a very dark and dreary ending, so just get ready for that. I feel like it cut abruptly as well. You just sort of abruptly end there and you're just like, damn, that's how it ends. So I think the ending could have been better. But other than that, I think this book rocks. So I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. Very good. This is a very good read. And I recommend that all of you guys out there. I plan on reading more Michael Cole, but I will give my stamp of approval on the first book of his that I read, Creature of Lake Shadow. So if you guys want like a Tales from the Crypt Presents movie kind of feel, if you're looking for some fun monster action, if you're looking for a little bit of comic book feel, comedy mixed in with the humor, nice balance, I think this one will give you what you're looking for. And that's all I got for today. So if you like this book review, you can hit that subscribe button, you can hit that like button, and also comment down below. What do you guys think about this story? Have you read it before? Have you heard about Michael Cole? What are some of your favorite Creature Feature books, or even movies or episodes from any TV show that you enjoy, that you would recommend that I check out in case I haven't? And stay tuned for more content to come in the future. But that's all I got for today. Deuces.